Hey everyone, I've got some exciting news for you today. We're receiving a lot of positive updates, and I have to say, some of them are even surprising. For the second consecutive day, we're seeing a lot of promising developments, and today's news is all about a very effective offensive, especially in the air game. We're going to dive into this from different angles, both from the quarterback's perspective and the receivers. And no, I'm not talking about the season opener for the San Francisco team, but rather the 49ers. If you're looking for daily content about them, now would be a great time to subscribe because we're getting closer to hitting 10,000 subscribers, and with that, we've got a special surprise coming for you all. Our air game is in good hands, and I think everyone would agree that we have a solid command of the offense. We've got a great coach, a talented quarterback, and high-level receivers. If everyone stays healthy, we've still got a very talented roster, and we're going to talk more about that in a bit. But first, I want to touch on a move by the 49ers that involved a player. I wasn't able to bring this up yesterday because it happened after I had already prepared about 20 minutes of content. Before we get into the good news that I'm really excited about, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think of this signing? How do you feel about the restricted free agent deal the 49ers made? This player had a lot more experience last season than I had anticipated, playing 451 snaps at defensive end. The contract is for 1 year, worth $1,033,000, with no guarantees, and the player signed his exclusive rights free agent deal with the 49ers. So, leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's get into the first piece of good news that's really got me excited. It's related to a player who had an interesting conversation on a podcast. The revealing content from that podcast will soon be circulating on social media or other platforms, so keep an eye out for that. The first piece of news that's really getting me pumped has to do with this player who participated in a fascinating conversation on a podcast. A ton of revealing content came out of that podcast, and I'm hoping it sticks around on social media or wherever you get your updates. What stood out the most to me was this player's thoughts on the mindset of a wide receiver. He faced a lot of challenges early on in his career, but whenever he was on the field during practice, he'd come up to me, talking enthusiastically. He'd say things like, "I'm going to take this many steps, I'll break to the right, and you can trust me." I really appreciate that kind of attitude because in those crucial moments, I need someone I can count on, and he was always willing to align with me. After practice, he'd run routes while I threw the ball, and when it was game time, we were able to convert those third downs. That's what teamwork is all about. I'll come back to this receiver in a moment, so stay tuned. But overall, what I find most fascinating is the bond between the quarterback and the receiver, which almost feels like a brotherhood, and you can see that chemistry on the field. If they've got that kind of connection, I think it's a promising sign for what they can achieve together in the future. Considering that one of the receivers may not be available in the first week, and even if he returns, he might miss a significant amount of training, it reminded me of last year when he was absent for a long stretch, even though he wasn't recovering from a major injury. So, does this receiver need to be a trustworthy teammate? Absolutely. The addition of another player to the team brings a huge advantage as well. And let's not forget about another receiver who turned out to be much more valuable than expected last season. There's a lot of potential in this receiver group, even with the absence of one key player, and it's important to acknowledge that this offense is still in great shape. Let's keep moving forward because there's still a lot more to cover. Jauan Jennings showed himself to be far more relevant than anyone could have imagined last season, and this receiver group has a ton of talent, even without the presence of Deebo Samuel. It's crucial to recognize that this offense is still very effective. Looking ahead, there's more news about Brock Purdy that's worth mentioning. He reported that around 40% of the time, he can't see his target on long throws due to the lineman in front of him. He emphasizes the importance of understanding coverages and schemes and knowing where his receiver should be. Brock Purdy has exceptional vision and a remarkable ability to anticipate, and he does all this while admitting that a significant portion of the time, he can't actually see his target. That's pretty impressive, and even though it's not groundbreaking, it's still fascinating to reflect on. For him, it's not about being a pinpoint accurate passer, but more about anticipating the play, which fits perfectly with his narrative. Immediately, you think about 2023, considering that some of his passes were made without even seeing the receiver. That's something extraordinary and one of the best feelings you can describe. It really makes you excited and eager to watch some football right now. The expectation around Brock Purdy and the rookie is massive. But let's keep going because there's still more to explore. The quarterback talked about the moment he realized he had the potential to become a professional quarterback, and this aligns exactly with what everyone has always said about him. What stands out about Brock is his mindset, which is outstanding, along with his leadership ability. A lot of people said he wouldn't be good enough, but in reality, it was always believed that he just needed a chance to compete. What has been observed is remarkable. He's made it to multiple NFC championship games, and if it wasn't for injuries, he could have been in 2 Super Bowls. So that's it. That's the quarterback, Brock Purdy. During a review, one comment stood out, and the evaluation of Purdy's processing and accuracy is really top-notch. This is a skill that most quarterbacks take years to perfect, and yet this is the starter about to shine even more. Now, we need to talk about Brandon Aiyuk's situation, but before that, let's touch on some experience regarding penalties, the verdict on infractions. I don't know about you, but the concern about penalties often seems overblown. You find yourself thinking about how things might have turned out differently if a specific penalty had been called differently. For example, how would Super Bowl 54 have gone if Jimmy Garoppolo's pass to George Kittle, a 42-yard play in the red zone, hadn't been called back due to a questionable offensive interference penalty? It could have changed everything. Let's kick off the discussion about Jauan Jennings. According to some sources that have been circulating, the 49ers plan to open talks this offseason about a contract extension for wide receiver Jauan Jennings. He had an outstanding season, with 77 receptions and 975 yards, and he should have crossed the 1,000-yard mark, but once again, the refs had an impact with a penalty. Last year, he had 6 touchdowns, proving to be a reliable threat not just on third downs, but in various situations. He really embodies the essence of 49ers football, and that's a pretty fair statement. I have a lot of admiration for Jauan Jennings, and I'm not the only one. He's really popular. It's hard not to like him. While he may not be Brandon Aiyuk, that doesn't mean he can't get the separation he needs, but he's definitely an extremely reliable receiver. Given the uncertainties around Aiyuk, I'd be pretty happy if the 49ers worked out a deal to keep Jauan Jennings on the team. Right now, he's still under contract, and if you remember, last summer, he was signed for a 2-year term. At the time, it seemed like a good deal, but it's turning out to be a great move. If the 49ers choose to extend his contract, it'll be beneficial for both sides. I imagine his agent is arguing that he's had an excellent season and that it's essential to keep him on the team, especially considering the system and quarterback he plays with. It's highly likely that his agent is pushing for a better deal. This situation is interesting, especially with what's happening with Brandon Aiyuk, who had a lot of news surrounding him over the weekend. But going back to Jauan Jennings, the team is limiting the budget for external signings, but they're still focused on rewarding those who are always there. We've seen this with other players, and I'm sure they'll do the same with him. We'll have to wait and see how it all unfolds. Either way, the 49ers are discussing potential trades involving Brandon Aiyuk with multiple teams, which is no surprise. Recent reports suggest that a deal is unlikely before April 1st, when the roster guarantees become active. The situation surrounding Aiyuk and all the teams involved doesn't surprise anyone. It's something that was widely known. Recent reports from various sources suggest that an agreement is unlikely before the 1st of April, which makes sense. The 49ers seem to be looking to move on from Aiyuk, especially if they can get it done before the beginning of April, which would allow them to save a considerable amount of money. There are indications that the team might still be willing to trade Aiyuk even after that date. Although I'm not a financial expert, this decision seems a bit questionable to me. What really intrigues me is the current approach of the 49ers and the determination they've shown in executing this trade. Rumors are circulating that Aiyuk might leave the team. I feel a bit conflicted about this possibility. On one hand, if they choose to part ways with him, I feel confident about the talent available. The 49ers are looking at some truly remarkable receivers, so I'm comfortable with the current state of their roster. If the strategy is to free up some cap space, it might be best to resolve this as soon as possible. On the other hand, The Aiyuk of 23 is definitely a player who can't easily be replaced, but it's hard to say that he's indispensable. He's got a lot of talent. He's among the top 10 receivers in the league this year. So, I hesitate to let him go quickly, despite all the drama and behavior that might surround the receiver position. As long as he can deliver on the field, I can handle the rest. It's important to follow the developments with Aiyuk and Jauan Jennings. And we also need to address the journey of Ricky Peep. His story is truly captivating. I did some research to understand how everything started and unfolded. Ricky Peep's journey is fascinating, starting with a shoulder injury during training, followed by a stint in the urban center that kept him out for several weeks. He made his debut against the Kansas City Chiefs, which happened around the 7th or 8th week, approximately. By the middle of the season, he finally got the chance to play. It's worth noting that in his first 3 games, he had 12 touches, accumulating 171 yards and 1 touchdown. Of those 12 touches, 1 was a perfect reception, meaning all his attempts were successful. By the end of the season, he had 19 touches over the last 3 games, totaling 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's impressive that, when looking at the start and finish of the season, his production was much higher, while he wasn't as involved in the middle portion, which raises some questions. One of the games was marked by a standout performance from a teammate, where, after some complaints, he received a significant amount of passes. One aspect we haven't touched on yet is that when analyzing his performance data, I saw that he had some noteworthy blocking performances, with elite-level blocking in certain games. Even though in other games he didn't stand out as much, these blocking performances are a good indicator, especially considering how much the team values the work receivers do in that area. Early in the season, his production was acceptable, but he struggled to get away from the defenders. But by the end of the season, it seemed like the team was eager to give him a lot of opportunities, and he made the most of them. I'm really excited about Ricky Peep's potential. By the end of the season, it seemed like the team was committed to giving this player plenty of chances as the competition neared its end. He made the most of those opportunities in impressive fashion, showcasing his abilities in a remarkable way. I'm truly excited about Ricky Peep's performances, especially considering he amassed 253 yards in 3 games, along with 2 touchdowns from just 19 touches. That's significant. One of the standout moments occurred during one of those first 3 games, which wasn't the opener, but I think it was the second. After facing the Kansas City Chiefs, who did we face next? Was it against Dallas? We had a bye week right after the Chiefs game. Or was it before? I can't remember exactly, but that's not so important. The next game was against Tampa Bay, so it was probably Dallas. Anyway, he had a 39-yard run that really boosted his stats. Now, with only 28 days left until the 2025 NFL Draft, I'm extremely excited. I can't wait to see what the team will decide to do, how they'll handle the draft, and what they'll do with their picks. If there aren't any moves, I'd be shocked because I believe they'll make some trades. Will those changes happen in the first round? I'm not sure because picks at 11th overall don't come around often, and they likely value that. Unless it's part of a trade deal, the team's history with first-round picks hasn't been great, and they've also traded away a lot of first-rounders in the past. It's worth mentioning that they don't have much draft capital to work with right now. However, now we're in a situation where they have a considerable amount of draft capital. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In the fast-paced world of NFL transactions, one name has been making waves: DeAndre Hopkins. The veteran wide receiver, known for his electrifying catches and game-changing ability, has piqued the interest of the San Francisco 49ers. Rumors of a potential trade have fans and analysts buzzing, as the 49ers look to strengthen their roster for a deeper playoff run. Could the prolific receiver find himself donning the red and gold of San Francisco next season? Hopkins, currently with the Kansas City Chiefs, has had a storied career since his days at Clemson, cementing himself as one of the premier wide receivers in the NFL. A 5-time Pro Bowler and 5-time All-Pro selection, his ability to dominate on the field is undeniable. his tenure with the Titans, where he recorded impressive stats, including 75 receptions and over 1,000 yards in 2023, only solidified his status as a top-tier playmaker. His recent move to the Chiefs has only added to his legacy, making him an even more coveted asset on the market. The 49ers' interest in Hopkins seems to be a strategic one. Known for their explosive offense led by quarterback Brock Purdy, adding Hopkins would provide the team with an experienced and dynamic weapon to complement their already stacked roster. With wide receiver Deebo Samuel and tight end George Kittle drawing attention, Hopkins could be the missing piece to elevate their offense to new heights. The 49ers' aggressive pursuit highlights their commitment to contending for the Super Bowl in the coming years. Hopkins' skill set would seamlessly mesh with the 49ers' offensive system. His elite route running, ability to make contested catches, and knack for coming up big in clutch moments would give Purdy a reliable target in key situations. Furthermore, the veteran's experience in high-pressure games would be invaluable to the 49ers, who have been knocking on the door of a championship in recent seasons. His addition could be the difference maker they need to take the next step toward a Super Bowl. As the offseason unfolds, the 49ers' pursuit of DeAndre Hopkins will undoubtedly remain a major talking point. With his proven track record and the potential to be a game-changer in San Francisco's already potent offense, it's clear why the 49ers are so interested in securing his services. Whether or not a deal comes to fruition remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. The 49ers are making it clear that they're willing to do whatever it takes to bring a championship to the Bay Area. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.